Hey everybody. I wasn't planning on shooting any video when I came out here today, but once I got out here in the main channel, I decided I thought I would. I'm not by any means saying this is rough, choppy water, but this is a lake that I normally paddle on, and it's usually smooth like glass. So for what I'm used to paddling on, this is pretty rough and choppy. And the point I want to make is that I recently did some modifications to this kayak. I will attach a card to the other video I did. I'll show you exactly what I did and how I did it. But all I'm comparing this kayak to is itself. And last summer, before I made the modifications to this kayak, I had been on water like this plenty of times. It's, you know, not unusual to be out here on a breezy day and have a little bit of chop out here like this. And the way this kayak felt and handled before made me nervous coming out on water like this even. Now keep in mind, I'm not an experienced kayaker and I'm not the greatest swimmer, and I am wearing a personal flotation device. I always wear my vest when I'm out here. But compared to the way it felt before, this just feels like a different kayak. I'm just sliding through this water like it's no big deal. It's actually a nice pleasant breeze blowing, and I could care less about these little waves rolling underneath of me. I can't even feel them. The way it was before, with the bottom completely flat and no structural strength to it, it flopped and banged and rocked back and forth and made all kinds of noises. Once again, I can't stress enough how happy I am with this kayak now that I've reinforced the hull and rounded it back out instead of having that flat bottom to it. It moves through the water so much more nicely. So since I've begun shooting this video, I may as well continue. And not really out here fishing or anything today. I'm just going to be out here for a little paddle around. And just down here around this point is a small island. And for no particular reason, I'm just heading down to the island. We're going to have a little paddle around the island and make our way back to the boat launch. So I'll see you when we get down around the bend. One of these days I'm going to get back here and fish. I've come through here a couple times now in the last few days, and it always looks like a good spot to fish, but I have a feeling it's probably not. But we'll find out. Anyway, we still got to make it down to that next little point with those trees hanging over the water and wrap around that, and then we will have the little island in sight. Well, I know it's hard to tell on the camera the way all the shoreline seems to merge together. But that mass of trees right there is the island we're heading to. It's not far now. I think we're going to hug this shoreline off to our right here, make our way down. When we get to the bottom of this cove, we'll swing around and come back out over this way and head back on up. That'll be our trip. Alright, so now that we're in the back of that little cove we were just paddling through, I decided to get out and have a little explore. If you leave the boat launch and you go straight across the channel instead of down the way we've come, there's another cove I like to go into, and when you get into the back corner of that, I've often heard people speaking back through the woods, and I've always wondered about it. And when I looked at it on the map, the body of water is right there, and then this piece of land we're standing on right here is this big teardrop shaped piece of land, so it almost comes to a complete pinch point. From the corner of this cove to the corner of that cove is only about 150 yards. I don't have my hiking boots on, but I did walk over that far, and I can clearly see the opening where the water is right over there. So in theory, I could actually just paddle into that place, portage my kayak right over here. This is just awesome looking back here. It looks like a giant wooded cathedral. So I'm loving being able to just get out and walk around a little bit. But if I were simply to portage my kayak right back over this way, put it right back in the water right here, I'd save myself a whole lot of paddling, although I'm not necessarily sure saving myself paddling is my goal. But if I wanted to save myself some paddling, I could simply do that. Come right over to here, and that's our little island out there. So we came in around this bend here. I went ahead and parked, and now when we get out, we're going to stay on this side. I want to stay in the shade. The sun's getting to me a little bit, and we're just going to make our way around and probably just look at some sights along the way, go around this island a long way, and then head all the way back on, way up that way, to where the boat launch is. So I'm going to finish having my little walk around and stretching my legs, and then we'll get back to it. Alright everybody, change of plans. The weather is turning foul a little quicker than I was expecting, so instead of making our way all the way down that way and around the cove and everywhere else, we're just going to go ahead and wrap around this island real quick and start heading on back. Hopefully once we get out into the main channel, we should have the wind at our back, and it should be a fairly quick paddle right up the main channel. And I'm hoping the weather doesn't change too badly, but that's what's heading our way, and I want to try to outrun it, get back to the boat launch before it gets here. No fun getting caught out on the water in the rain, especially if it's going to be a thunderstorm. So let's get to it. Some big old carp swimming around down there. It's coming up fast. Alright, that's it everybody, that's the whole island. So we need to go back around that point and then way on up the road. And that's what we're trying to outrun. So I think we'll be alright. Like I said, once we get around this point up here and get back out into the main channel, I think we'll have the wind at our back. We'll have these little waves pushing along with us instead of sideways, and we'll move right along. Alright, I had a little change of tack here. I decided instead of getting hit by those waves sideways the whole way up there, I would go ahead and cut across and we would go straight to the other side. And now that's going to make our paddle back a little bit longer. We should be heading way up that way, but we're going to come over here and kind of follow the shoreline up. Again, I think we'll be okay with the rain coming up behind us. Worst case scenario, I can always pull the kayak off to the side and get out somewhere, take shelter till it passes. In the meantime, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the shoreline looks like over here. I would imagine it's really rugged and jagged, and I can tell I'm in some really deep water. It's probably about 80 feet deep under me right now. So the shoreline over here ought to be pretty spectacular once we get up to it. See, these rocks drop off almost like a sheer cliff. Wow, it's a whole hillside full of lichen-covered boulders. Awesome looking. I gotta make sure I don't crash into anything though. Makes me want to get out over on this side and have an explore. I don't really know where I could get out though. Making me want to stop and fish again. Alright, as much fun as this is, we're heading in the opposite direction of what we need to be. We need to head up towards the trestle bridge there. I know you probably can't see it on the camera. These GoPros aren't very good at distance, but we need to head in that direction, not this direction. So we're going to change tack once again now that we're out of the wind. We're going to head on up this way, and it shouldn't be too much longer before we're heading back up towards the boat launch. I keep letting those blue skies up ahead of us lull me into a false sense of security. That's what's coming up behind us. So I definitely need to keep on moving. So we need to go around that point out there. Again, I know it's sort of hard to tell in the camera where the different tree lines are, but we got a point right here, and there's a nice big cove back there, and then we got to go around that point and then follow that all the way up, and then that's where the boat launch is. So we don't have too much further to go. I still think we're going to be okay, but I don't have a whole lot of time for dallying along the way. I got to keep on moving.